There we go. We're finally live again. Welcome to. It isn't Shoot the Defense. It's no Chofters because we're going to do it on the separate one because I know there's going to be people interacting. There's more people interacting on this one with the broken English than there is on Shoot the Defense. I'm Stel, as you guys know. I've got Rhodri Giggs here and Steve Eyre. Rod, welcome back. Happy man.
Yeah. Easy win yesterday.
Easy win. I love the way he puts it as well.
It should have been an easy win, but no, it was a good win. It was a big game, and you'd expect your big players to turn up, and they did. So yeah, it was a good game all around.
Excellent. Steve, how you doing?
Hi, Stel. Good evening, mate. All right?
Yeah, all good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good too.
Are you enjoying the Netherlands game? I can't even call them Holland anymore because I found out the other day that Holland is just a few little cities put into one, and that's Holland. But Netherlands is the whole country. I didn't even fucking know this.
Yeah, I'm liking them because I don't see them as a threat to win the tournament, and possibly I've took my eye off them in the last 12 months or so. I'm quite energised by watching them. Obviously, Depay being the star player of it, and he's Wijnaldum of Liverpool before he's just signed for he's gone to PSG, hasn't he?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, he's certainly living up to his title of a brilliant footballer that I didn't realise he was this good. I said to you pre-show, but he's run the first two games for the Netherlands.
Absolutely, and when I look at this, let's talk about this Netherlands game. They're 2-0 up at the moment. There's 12 minutes to go against Austria. The main gripe from the commentators have been Austria's high line, but what else can they possibly do? In all fairness, they've got to go for it. So I don't see what the problem is. Of course, they're getting caught, but they have to go for it. They have to win.
Yeah, and the same commentators just said that Holland, obviously, the Netherlands have got Van der Beek to come in, but he was quickly, Jermaine Jenas was corrected by Pearce, the commentators, to say, well, it won't be this tournament, it'll be the next. So I tend to, I'm trying to maybe even think about not listening to the commentaries these days. And but obviously there's been a lot made of this high line, and Holland have got some real adventure and some real pace, and they keep breaking in, and they scored 3 in the last game, and they might even score 3 in this. So I'm enjoying watching them.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you mentioned these commentators because I think we had the conversation about this on Sunday after the Denmark game, and we were saying that a lot of these commentators, like, they're kind of winging it. There was one I was listening to it on the radio. I didn't want to listen to it through the actual main commentary, so I pressed the red button and I chose the BBC alternative commentary 5 Live, and the commentator was reading the list of the players. Eriksen, ex-Spurs, Højbjerg, currently at Spurs, whichever one, etc., etc. But then during the game, it was like Christensen of Chelsea. Well, we know he's of Chelsea, but are you saying it for filler? At one point, she goes, Christensen of Chelsea hits the ball forward. Christensen of Chelsea. But you've already said it. What? I don't know, man. It pisses me off. Because I'm thinking, you need to know your stuff. You need to do your research. And I'm thinking Tim Sparv, the Finland captain, he had a spell at Southampton, but they didn't mention that, did they? Didn't mention that at all. But if they did the research, they would have known.
Better knowledge on here, Stel.
It does my fucking head in, man. Honestly, and they get paid good money to do this. I don't know. Anyway, fuck it. Rod, what do you make of the Netherlands at the moment? The benevolent Netherlands.
Yeah, they look good. I was just as I was watching, I was thinking, you know what? The Liverpool, it's a massive hole that he's going to leave because he does a lot. He goes about quietly as well. He's not like a big name player, but he does the job really, really well. And it's a big miss for Liverpool because he's the engine room to that team. And yeah, they look good, but the cutting edge at the top end, are they good enough to beat the top teams? Probably not, but they're only going to get better because they look like a young side.
When you say they're only going to get better, do you mean as the tournament progresses or just in general?
No, just in general. When Van Dijk comes in and Van der Beek comes in and they have a more pool of better quality. Van Dijk's a massive miss. You have him and De Ligt at the back. It's a potent back for that and difficult to break down if he's got everything that. So yeah, they're not so much this tournament. You never know. There's always one that breaks through and gets to the semi-final. Look at Wales last time. No one expected Wales to get to the semi-final with all them big teams, but they managed to beat Belgium and get through. So there's always one dark horse? Is it going to be Netherlands? Is it going to be Italy? There's going to be one of them. So there always is, but it could be Netherlands because they've got the quality.
I think we spoke about Frank de Boer in the last show. I'm not 100% sure, but we were saying, you know, he was terrible at Palace, he was terrible at Inter, he was terrible at Atlanta United, and then he got the job replacing Ronald Koeman. And I don't think too much is expected of him in this Dutch team. So, again, do you think the pressure is kind of off him at the moment?
You know, he's still a good great player, and you know, sometimes you go to these places, it just doesn't fit, and then you go to a place like Holland, which is comfortable. He knows the surroundings, he knows the players, he knows which kind of football they want to play. So you know it's going to Palace is always going to be difficult. Atlanta's, you know, after their success as well, was going to be difficult. So yeah, he's proven that he's a good coach because, you know, they're playing decent football. And you know, some teams are boring to watch. You know, Netherlands are a good team to watch.
He also won 4 leagues with Ajax as well, Rod, didn't he? So he's obviously, you know, some coaches are suited just for, like what you've just said there, you know, in your home nation, around, you know, your nationality of players, obviously. And he'll have known these players probably for 10, 12, 15 years, some of them. So, yeah, maybe it's right time, right place for him, whereas the English move for Crystal Palace certainly was, you know, wrong time, wrong place.
You know, you only got to look at Depay. You know, he looks like a quality player, but we didn't really see that. We've seen it in splits and spurts, but, you know, it just wasn't the right time for a big club. By the looks of it, he's going to Barcelona. Maybe he'll get a second chance and we'll see what he's made of.
Yeah, we're going. Speaking of second chances, Ukraine had a second chance today, and they took it. Good win against North Macedonia. Steve Yarmolenko,
yeah,
man of the match performance. Hasn't really pulled up many trees since joining West Ham from Dortmund, but you know, I think he's staking his claim for a regular spot at West Ham next season, especially with that left peg of his. Blimey.
Yeah, you'd think so. It's a hammer of a left foot he's got. He's powerful. He's passionate. And again, you know, it's not quite knockout football yet, but tournament football may be suited to certain players that, as we're seeing, you know, teams going for it. You know, you recognise often in the Premier League, you know, teams, I'm going to suggest a West Ham, maybe for 40% of the games, they're going into them thinking that they would take a draw. So tournament football, I think we're possibly seeing the best of these players, especially the attackers, because it's like, you know, obviously kill or be killed. And you know, get out of the group stage, and then even more so we'll see it in the knockout stage. So I think we're really seeing, Rhodri mentioned it on Depay, you know, Yarmolenko the same. I think it brings the best out of the competitors.
Oh, absolutely. And Rod, you know, we mentioned De Boer earlier. Talk about another legend, Shevchenko. He's doing a stellar job for the national team, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. You know, they were 2-0 down against Holland, and they had a good Netherlands. Sorry, and they come back and you know, almost got a result, but you know, yeah, today the result they just got is a big, massive win, and they've got a winnable game the next game, so they can easily go through, and they could possibly go through with that win alone. So, but yeah, he's you know, it's always, you know, when a big name coach takes a big player takes a coaching role, you know, can big players be good coach? I'm pretty sure they can. You know, especially a player like Shevchenko in Ukraine. You know, when you think of Ukraine, you think of Shevchenko, the other kid, what's his name,
Rebrov, that's the
Rebrov,
he's at Spurs, yeah.
When they were Dynamo Kiev in Ukraine, they were brilliant. So yeah, he's probably a massive hero to some of them players, and you know, if he obviously knows the game, so yeah, he's doing a sterling job, and you know, if he gets them through, it's a good result for him.
Yeah, and I think this is their first win in 6 European Championship games. So there's that you know, jinx gone. But Steve, I don't know if you've seen Yaremchuk, the striker. He scored 2 in 2. He scored a header against the Dutch the other day. He looks like the traditional, you know, British centre forward, doesn't he? Like a Duncan Ferguson kind of, you know, burly, loves to get stuck in kind of thing. Now, obviously going to see a lot of rumours him being linked with English clubs, but he does look like a player that can really cause trouble, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I'm sorry in advance for going back to the commentators, but the one I heard was actually John Hartson, who was very much that himself, and so he was very much, championing the position of the big burly centre forward, and if you can move a little bit as well, then you're a real asset to any football team. And I don't think they'll ever completely go out of fashion, although Manchester City have tried this year, obviously, without playing with a centre forward. And then when Aguero comes in, playing him, a little bit withdrawn. But there is always that Lukaku polar opposite of the big centre forward who can gallop and score a goal will always exist. And the one you've just mentioned there, obviously, you pronounce it better than me, but he's proven to be a mobile target man on all our television screens. And like you say, yeah, I think he'll be a big attraction to anybody in the Premier League. I think any club would like them, if not only in the team, certainly in the squad.
They've got Austria next. And obviously with this defeat, Austria needs to win this to have a chance of staying in the competition. Now, what kind of game do you expect between Austria and Ukraine? Because obviously Ukraine are very organised. Austria don't seem to be organised. And it also looks like Austria can't handle set pieces for, corners, free kicks.
Yeah, no physicality, Austria. And the fact that they've had to put their best player, David Alaba, in the middle of a back three. And that isn't through physicality. That's through knowledge, talent, experience, calmness. But it's not through size. So they don't look like they've got the physicality to cope in this tournament. And whilst they can pass the ball to each other, as I'm seeing on another screen here now, quite comfortably, they're absolutely wide open. And if you want to run through them or beat them aerially, you can do, almost every occasion. They look a really talented, like a boys' team almost, against, like a young men's team in Holland.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about. Shall we talk about the group of death, as they call it? Blimey, Hungary losing 3-0 at home to Portugal in a game where, up until the last 15 minutes, it looked like Hungary were going to get something out of this, Rod. But cometh the hour, cometh the man. Cristiano Ronaldo. I know obviously the opening goal wasn't by him. It was a big deflection from Guerrero, the left back. But again, it's the European champions stepping up when they need to, and Fernando Santos proving his worth as a head coach with his tactical changes.
Yeah, it was a good win, and it was a great goal by a great left back. Anyone who'd have them in their fantasy football.
Oh, look at this guy.
What? No, yeah, it was a massive win. When Ronaldo's about, you can never be still and never be asleep, and they were, and they've tied them out and eventually come away with a 3-0 win. We've seen it before. Once one goes in, the balloons bust and they score and half-full, which they did. It's unfortunate for Hungary. They held out to like 84, 85 minutes, but yeah, once the first goal went in, it was all over for him.
Well, this is it, Steve. Rod mentioned fatigue there, and Hungary did look dead on their knees, basically. And you tend to see a lot of mistakes, especially defensively, be it due to concentration or just not having the legs to do it. And I think, Ronaldo's second goal, where they just completely cut them apart, I think even a fully fit Hungary team would have struggled to cope with that movement.
Yeah. Opposite of that, Stel, I was absolutely shocked at the performance of Jota. And I think it was his exit off the field which helped Portugal. It's hard to criticise somebody for over-effort, trying too hard. Normally you criticise somebody for not trying hard enough, but he looked like a trialist. He looked like someone had just given him a pair of boots for the first time. Everything was bouncing off him. I don't think he recovered from the shot he took on in the first half, where everybody thought he should have squared to Ronaldo. There's some footage I've seen on social media with Ronaldo looking at him in the tunnel going out for the second half. There was like add your caption to it. You could only imagine the look on his face was still disgusted that he wasn't passed to early on. And then the game just changed actually as soon as he exited the field. So it was a brilliant substitution. And then Ronaldo clearly underlined the fact that he's one of the best players that's ever played the game and still the best player in the world. And if he's not the best player in the world, he's the second. So we saw it in the last 5 minutes, even if he's not doing as much running these days. So they say.
Yeah. And Rod, he's the European Championships leading goal scorer ever. He's played in 5 tournaments, and I remember his debut at United when he came on against Bolton, skinned the fullback, left back, and he did the right back. And then Euro 2004, obviously they got to the final and lost to Greece, and then so on and so forth. But he's blossomed, hasn't he? And to think that this scrawny 17-year-old that made his debut for Man United, could only really do stepovers, as people were saying. He's a one-trick pony. To be one of the greatest ever, unbelievable.
Yeah, he's totally changed. His body's changed. You won't even see him drinking Coke anymore like he did back then. So.
I was going to go to that one, but carry on.
But he's just unbelievable. 36 years of age. If you look at the same career, the same age of Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney's retired, and Ronaldo's still going strong and probably one of the best players in the world. So kids can only look at it and say, if you treat your body like a temple, you look after yourself, you do the right things, you eat the right things, you drink the right things, then you can play as long as you want. And Ronaldo's showing that.
And this whole Coca-Cola thing is brilliant because you had people saying, because of what he did, it dropped the share price of Coca-Cola. Well, no, because the share price had already dropped prior to him doing that. That's the first thing. Then you saw, who was it? It was Pogba getting the Heineken bottle and putting it down, but that's for religious reasons. Then you had the Russian coach opening a Coke bottle with another Coke bottle, drinking that. You had the Scottish player saying, "Where's the Coke?" on the table. And today, Yarmolenko got the Coke bottle and the Heineken bottle. He said, "I need the sponsorship." I think that's going to be like a growing theme. I think the Italian player as well did it as well, didn't he?
All these massive companies were buzzing because it's publicity. Yeah. It's just a no-brainer for him.
Absolutely brilliant. At least they got a sense of humour. Do you know what I mean? That's
it's all fun and jokes, isn't it? But it's funny, isn't it, when you see him moving Coke bottles and you see a picture of a bucket at KFC. So, turn it in, money.
Yep. Speaking of funny, Germany, their defence for the winning goal for France. I'm going to let Steve on this one, mate, because we won't talk about the French just yet because I think there's a lot of superlatives to use to describe the French display. But the winning goal, crikey. Where do you want to begin with this one? I'll let you take the floor with this one, mate.
I think it's Rudiger's obsession with being a man marker, being touch tight, and just thinks that if he's got his man, he's doing a job for the team. I don't think he's got any idea, really, Rudiger. Even though he's a Champions League winner, I don't think he's got any idea about marking space, which sounds a little bit daft, really. When if you're marking space, you'd think that's quite easy for most, but I don't think he's comfortable with it. I don't think he's comfortable covering his teammates. I think he's much happier mauling the opposition. I think he's much happier grabbing, and in Paul Pogba's case, it was called nibbling at his back, but it certainly seemed a lot more to me. He's always looking for a niggly advantage in terms of a grab, a pull, a stretch of the shirt, and I think that's where he's comfortable, and I think he just thinks that that's his contribution. And I think Benzema, also being one of the world's best players, one of the world's best strikers, will have known this before the game, will have known it for years, even though he's not been playing internationally. And I think he decided to take Rudiger all around the pitch the other night, like an owner takes a dog for a walk. I really believe this. And Benzema came out of centre-forward positions. Rudiger came with him. Benzema was going to collect all the throw-ins in the attacking half for France. And with Rudiger following him straight away, that's one less in the defensive line for Germany. And he couldn't help himself getting overly involved. Once he'd got involved with Benzema from the throw, he then followed another ball to try and get involved, leaving his team fragmented and out of position. And then it was 2 passes and a cross and an own goal, and it's in the back of the net. And as it turned out to be, game over. But I put all the start of it at Rudiger.
You're on mute.
Me?
My bad, sorry. I was about to say, I felt more sorry for Kimmich than I did for Hummels, because Hummels, with his experience, you'd think he'd deal with that better, but Kimmich, it was kind of like he was in two minds. Should he look at the ball because it was coming towards him, or should he look at Hernandez, who was creeping up behind him, as more like a left winger? So again, caught in two minds, just didn't know what to do, and that's it, fluffed his lines.
Yeah, I think you put faith in the fact that how many balls you've cleared in your life, that you're just going to get some boot through ball. But sometimes in the heat of the moment, you can take your eye off the ball and the speed of the ball that's coming in, and you mistimed it. And as in that case, it's off his shin pad or his boot or whatever and flies into the top of the net. And that was actually the fine margin that won them the game. So it ended up being a poor clearance, really.
Mm. And Rod, this Germany team reminds me of the Germany at USA '94. You know, they've got a couple of big names, but when you look at them as a unit, nothing impresses me. And it wouldn't surprise me if they get knocked out of the group stage.
No, you say that, but it wouldn't surprise you if they got through as well and won the next two games, because it's a tough ask to be your first game against France. No mugs France. They're very, very strong and the favourites probably to win it. So, it was a tough ask. So, but it's another tough ask to play Portugal and Hungary. Or do you play Portugal next or Hungary next?
Pass. Well, I hope it is Portugal, because then we'll know.
Either one, they need to. Portugal's a massive game for them. But if it's Portugal next,
it's Portugal, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a tough
Saturday.
game. You're right. They could easily go out, but they could easily get a result against Portugal and then win against Hungary, because Hungary, like I said before, they're going to be the whipping boys in this group.
Interesting on Gundogan, the last two games he's played for club and country, two huge games. One a Champions League final, he was sat deep in midfield, and one for Germany against France, he was sat deep in midfield. Now, of course, he's played there a lot of his career and he can do the job, but he's actually coming off the back of the best season of his career as an advanced midfield player running into the box. So I bet he feels a little bit frustrated that obviously very proud and delighted to play for his country, but not on the back of the season he's had in the position he's been playing for City, and now he's been playing in a withdrawn role and he's lost both games.
But the thing is, when you look at how Germany have been set up defensively, Steve, it isn't the same Germany as what I'm used to seeing, what we're used to seeing. But I think that's because of the personnel or the lack of quality there. Back in the day, you could say, Jerome Boateng was fantastic. Hummels at his peak was phenomenal. Philipp Lahm. They don't have that. They really don't have that. And I can honestly see Kimmich being moved into the middle of the park. I can see that happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're certainly not. They're not butterflies and they're not passengers. But when you look at France and you look at Italy, even England, let's say England as well, because how they decided to play in that first game, they are super fit, Premier League fit, international stage fit, and especially that pace from Mbappe where he gave 10 yards on Hummels. Whilst Germany aren't a sluggish team, definitely not, it looks like the other big nations have got fitter, younger players. That's how it looks to me, as well as obviously mega talented.
So, Rod, how do you think the game against Portugal is going to go then? Because when you look at Portugal's second half, they really stepped up. And the thing is, to make it even more of an open question, the introduction of Renato Sanchez, who really didn't have a good spell at Swansea City or Bayern Munich, but he's been fantastic in Ligue 1 this season. He changed the game with his engine. Now, can Germany cope with a play like that?
Well, Hungary did for 84 minutes, and Germany are a much better side than Germany, a much better side than Hungary. So you would think they'd give Portugal a better game than Hungary, and they've got better quality up front as well. They've got a Champions League winner, 2 Champions League winners. So there's no scrubs either. So it's a chance of Germany to stamp their authority. So it's win or bust. If they get it's not. They could get sneaking in the back door if they beat Hungary, but they don't want to leave it to that. They want to take it in their own hands, and by getting a positive result against Portugal, which they're more than capable of doing. This is Germany. Historically they've been brilliant in tournaments. So not of late, but it's going to be a big game for them.
Well, there's a comment here saying it's not the lack of quality the problem for Germany, it's the lack of leadership. Now, when I look at that lineup, Hummels is a leader, I'd say. Neuer would be a leader. I'd say Kroos is, Gundogan perhaps, Thomas Müller. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with that. Do you think leadership is the issue or just quality?
No, it was a lack of dynamism for me, if that's the right word. Just a lack of real explosive. They're not, England were explosive, even if it was just like body contact, pressing, engaging, winning 1v1 battles. They were quite explosive. A better word for England was front foot. France were definitely explosive. And Italy were really, really fluid. So I didn't see that with Germany. I saw calm, experience, talent, maturity, but I didn't see explosiveness that really excited me or worried me as a future opponent.
So, Rod, I look at that Germany lineup and I see Serge Gnabry up front with Havertz and Müller in behind. And then I look at their bench. Okay, they brought on Timo Werner, who hasn't had a great season for Chelsea. They brought on Kevin Volland, who was doing absolutely nothing before he went to Monaco, and he's had a decent season. You look at Germany teams in the past, your Jurgen Klinsmann's, your Karl-Heinz Rummenigge's, your Mario Gomez's, Miroslav Klose. They don't have that gunman up front anymore, do they?
No, they don't. But they're still in a rebuilding process. Really, all these players you name are young players, so they've got to really be established, and they're not really established yet. You talk about Havertz on a bad season; he was a Champions League winner and a goal scorer at that. So, you'd think he'd push on from that, leading the line for his country. You still got to give him a chance. Like I say, they played France. They played one game. It's a big. Like I say, it's a big game from this Portugal game. They've got to get a good result and have a positive game, play a good game, and not be on the back foot and actually take it to Portugal.
Steve, what about France then, mate?
Loved them.
They were fantastic, and the thing is, what I was most impressed by, and I'm sure the commentators mentioned it, I think they did actually, Griezmann, his work rate. Haven't seen him do that ever.
Yeah, brilliant. Defending back in his own box. Already discussed it with you, Stel. Benzema taking Rudiger for a walk all around the park, literally like an owner taking his dog. And then Mbappe, you're just waiting for him to get 1v1, even giving Hummels a 10-yard head start. Rabiot, Pogba. These are all mega talented. I'd rather always talk about the football first, but just legs all over, like serious legs all over the park. Legs. They want to defend. They've got a class goalkeeper. Is he the fastest player in the world? Mbappe, he certainly looked it. And just legs against old legs. That one-off race between Mbappe and Hummels. Whilst he used his experience to get back into a position and defend his box well a few times, France have got some serious wheels.
And it's scary because when you look at their bench, there's the whole heap of players they can bring on. If it isn't Giroud, it's Dembele. If it isn't Dembele, the list goes on and on and on. And it's no surprise that they're tournament favourites. But if there is one thing I will say about them, well, there's two things actually. I think they've got mistakes at the back defensively, especially with Kimpembe. And personally, I think their fullbacks, they're too gung-ho. Granted, they are disciplined, but they love to bomb forward. And when you play against a team that can stretch the game, perhaps maybe even the Dutch might be able to get a result of it against them. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll look forward to that. But they will obviously bargain the fact that they've got more going forward than anybody else. They've certainly, of all the brilliant partnerships and front threes, that was unbelievable the other night. Griezmann, Benzema, and Mbappe. It was unbelievable.
Yep. Speaking of unbelievable, I love these segues. Wales, Rod, unbelievable. They won. But let's be honest.
Why do you sound so surprised?
I was about to say, let's be honest, it was only Turkey.
Well, you still got to beat what's in front of you.
There you go.
Yeah, you still got to beat what's in front of you. It's a big game, like I say, the big players had to turn up it. And they did. Aaron Ramsey could have got 2 or 3. But, he put the one away that counted. It was a good finish, a great ball. The warning signs were there by Turkey. He made that run, 10, 15 minutes before. So, it's poor defending by the Turkey. And Ramsey seen the gap, he went for it. Great ball, like I say, and a cool finish. And yeah, it was even though Gareth Bale missed the penalty, it was still good character by him, and to not put his head down. He's closing the keeper down, and he scored from that, and then setting up the second goal. Some other player could have put his head down and actually lost it, but he kept on going, and we got a good result in the end. And with Italy, beating Switzerland convincingly, we're probably almost certainly through now.
And I think what impressed me most about Wales is how they basically dominated the middle of the park. You mentioned Ramsey having those 2 chances, but almost every time he was making those late runs in the box, and we're so used to seeing him do it. But it's almost as if the Turks had no answer to it, really. You knew it was going to happen, but they just couldn't stop it.
It's just Stel will tell you, it's just the quality of player. That split second, boom, he sees the gap, boom. It's too late. He's gone. And then they're trying their hands up, and they're trying to cheat, trying to get him offside, but no, he's timed the run perfectly. I explained to one of my pals who didn't see it, it was like an old Brian Robson, from deep into the box, great ball, touch, goal. Yeah, it was a great finish. And you can't do that unless you've got the quality of ball and the quality of run. And both of them had that, and it was a good goal.
Rhodri, I think for me, from what I saw it as well, credit to the 2 young lads who are just breaking into it now. Kiefer Moore looked like he was capable physically of occupying both centre-halves on his own. So that was 2 of theirs for 1 of Wales. And Daniel James was holding the position wide, available for a 1v1 at all time, which meant the fullback couldn't actually come in narrow and help his centre-halves out and make them nice and compact. And it just looked like you could have drove 10 buses through there, with the gap that the Wales had created tactically. But of course, Aaron Ramsey is better than any of us at knowing when to go, going at the right time, and then obviously the ball that comes in from Bale to get on the end of it. So there was so many things right. But for me, it was James creating the width wide and Kiefer Moore occupying the centre-backs, which was allowing those gaps for Ramsey to run into. But again, let me finish on Ramsey, though. It's all right having a big gap. We can all possibly see it, but to run into it and to go in and score as well in a European game like that, having just missed a similar one, he's an amazing player.
Do you guys agree with this one then? Wales are very underrated. They're a better side now compared to the Wales team in 2016. Well, I remember that 2016 tournament very well. I think Rod and I were going back and forth with it, weren't we? What do you think?
That's a difficult question. We're probably better in depth and better for future, because there's a lot of young players in there. But it's a tough, difficult question. That you'd have to see how far this team go. Can they go to the semi-finals? Because the 2016 team did. So you can only judge it on that, really. But I'd say the squad's better.
Better now than then, yeah.
Yeah, in depth. You've got people like Brooks is a decent player to come on. Wilson can cause problems as well. Yeah, they've got some good players in depth now.
Yeah, I'm with Rod.
Yeah, I remember they had Ashley Williams, James Chester. Those were defenders, weren't they, at the time? Joe Ledley was there.
Ledley, good, solid players, but they're not going to excite you or cause you any problems. You've got young, pacey people who can get about the pitch now and cause problems.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, I don't really think we should say too much about Turkey. Really, they're done. So let's not talk about them. Italy, gentlemen, big win against Switzerland. Locatelli gave them the lead, scored the second, and then Immobile made it 3. Routine victory by Italy. But in all fairness, it looks like a completely different Italy side to what we're used to seeing. Now, I don't know whether it's because of the shackles are off, because there's less pressure. They don't have as many big names, or maybe, just maybe, this could be their year to win it, Steve.
They're brilliant. I think they're brilliant. Yeah, I love them. I'm really enjoying the tournament. But yeah, they we mentioned it on the show last time. They play with depth because they've obviously got senior players at the back, so they can't really get up too high. I know Chiellini got injured after 20 minutes, but him and Bonucci hold probably a medium line at the back. They've got width. They've got inverted lads who come inside and shoot, but they can also go down the line. They've got Immobile, who's goal hungry, and it's a great stadium for him to get his goals. Obviously, he's only got one more game, I think, there think the next time they'll play will be at Wembley. So they're making use of home advantage. And how do you pronounce the number 10? Insigne. He's just obviously small in stature, but big in heart and stacked with talent. He's incredible. So Mancini clearly knows what he's doing. They look like they've got a good spirit and organisation and a load of talent and flair as well. I'm really enjoying watching Italy.
Rod, let's talk about Locatelli, because this player, he plays for Sassuolo, a decent Italian team. Don't get me wrong, a decent team. They're not a Milan, they're not a Juventus, but this is a guy who started at Atalanta. He went to AC Milan, and he didn't really get many games there. They didn't give him as many opportunities that he'd have liked. Boom, he goes to Sassuolo, has a decent couple seasons in the Italian national team, scoring goals for fun at the moment. But that switch pass that Steve mentioned on the group chat, which in the build-up to the goal, absolutely fantastic.
Unbelievable.
He loves a left footer as well.
Yeah, they seem to be a well drilled, well nice old machine at the minute, and they seem to be so full of energy and so, what's the word, disciplined, and it might be a big miss from Chiellini being out, but they didn't show it on that night. But but the commentators say, do you just feel against the stronger sides, are they going to be? But you just don't know, because the 2 results and both 3-0, you can't do much more than that. So, but I think people are sleeping on them. I think they're going to go pretty far, because I like them as a team, and they all work for each other, and they've got good quality and depth as well coming on. So it's just probably at the top end, they probably haven't got that cutting edge. But like I say, 3-0 for 2 games, it's not bad, is it?
Lads, how good is the right-footed left back?
Here we go. See, look at this one, Spinazzola.
I can't pronounce him as good as you, but what a find for us at home to, again, one that we wouldn't necessarily say, immediately. He's been unbelievable. He's already on the way to being player of the tournament, certainly in the team of the tournament. He's been amazing.
The thing is, though, it goes back to what Rod asked earlier when it comes to the bigger games. Mancini, in terms of his style, whatnot. Do you think he's got it in him to switch it up when he needs to? Because right now he's going 4-3-3. Okay, he's going 4-5-1 when they're defending, but 4-3-3 when they're going forward. Can you see him reverting to maybe a 3-5-2 if need be?
Well, they've been straightforward, the games at the moment, haven't they? So they've been enjoying themselves. They've played with flair and they've protected their own goal. So they've not been under any real pressure yet. So that remains to be seen. But you do get the feeling, as English supporters, Welsh supporters, let's say British supporters, that the idea of the Italian makeup is to defend, for your life, and defend rigidly and strong, and with a load of work done on the training ground. And when called upon, I'm sure they'll be able to do that. But for now, we're seeing a team full of flair. We'd probably predicted that they would grind, possibly win games 1-0, but they look like they can win 3-4, 5-0. So, but they've not been tested yet. So that's probably for the next episode, Stel.
Fair enough. And what do you guys make of Switzerland? Because for me, it's almost as if they were just there to make up the numbers. Shocking, absolutely shocking performance.
Yes, some teams just seem to be there just to make up the numbers. Turkey didn't really look at decent. Switzerland are the same. We're just probably lucky enough for a Wales team that have them both in our group. So yeah, it's not been great. They didn't really, pressure Italy. It's even though Italy did well, and got the ball back every time they lost it. Switzerland got to keep the ball better and higher up in the pitch. They were so deep and just inviting trouble, especially against a team like Italy who are pressing so high. So yeah, they're just inviting trouble, and they got what they deserved there.
So are we talking about Italy being second or third favourites now?
Yeah, for me, yeah.
Okay.
But
so right. When you've got Mancini, you know he's got these drilled and he's done defensively. So when it comes to these tight games, you might need, Italy a 1-0, sneak a goal and just shut up shop. And Italy are more than capable of doing that. So you could see him doing that in the latter stages.
There you go. Right. Finland lost 1-0 to Russia today. It was Russia, wasn't it? It was Russia. They lost to Russia, didn't they? Am I going mad? They lost 1-0 to Russia. That was yesterday. What am I talking about? Fuck's sake, I'm losing my mind. So they lost 1-0 to Russia yesterday. Obviously, Russia needed to get a victory to stay in the competition after getting hiding against Belgium. And in all fairness, they really soaked up the pressure at the beginning of the game. Finland had the goal disallowed for offside. But Russia switched to like a 3-5-2 or 3-4-2-1, and they got hold of the game. And once they did, it didn't look like Finland would get much out of it. In all fairness, Steve,
I saw it. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, you don't expect much from them, but by any means, and it's hard to be impressed by them. Other than at least they showed that they weren't there to make the numbers up. They're trying to compete and do it with honour, but they've just not got enough good players, have they?
Well, you mean Finland or Russia?
Finland haven't got enough good players.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rod won't like me saying this, but Finland have an attacking midfielder that plays in Cyprus called Valakari, right? Yeah, and he hasn't played a game yet. And I was speaking to Jason Punchin about it yesterday. He goes, "I'm not watching Finland because the lad hasn't played yet." So there you go. See, plays in Cyprus.
It's always tough for these sides. We're probably on the same quality of these sides, except we've got two world-class players. All these teams, Russia, Switzerland, Turkey, all probably on the same quality, but we're just lucky enough to have a Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey.
Yeah, but you say that, but there's a lot more to it. Can't be just those two players that make a difference. It's about stretching the game. Dan James did a fantastic job yesterday. When you look at Finland, all right, they worked hard and they got a good result against Denmark.
Stel, it's what them two do on others, though. You see, I'm sure you're obviously going to come to it, but Belgium were very ordinary today, and then Kevin De Bruyne enters the field, and 6 or 7 players automatically come to life. So I think what Rhodri's saying there about Bale and Ramsey, they're capable of doing stuff on their own, like yesterday, but equally they bring the best out of the other 6. Now, the other teams that we're talking about, Finland perhaps, Turkey perhaps, they've not got the world-class players, A, to do it for themselves individually, and B, to drag 5 or 6 with them. And Wales have got that.
Okay, fair enough. What about Russia then, gents? Do you think they're going to sneak through to the next round? Because obviously,
that's a massive game though, because they play Denmark, and Denmark need a win.
Yeah.
And Denmark, if it weren't for a world-class Kevin De Bruyne in the second half, then they might have got the result. So, it's a big game. That it'd be a good game to watch because both teams need a win.
Yeah, and Kevin De Bruyne, what can we say about him, man? Shall we talk about that game now? Talk about that one. Denmark 1, Belgium 2. Denmark got off like a house on fire, didn't they? The way that they started the game, unbelievable. When 2 minutes in, Poulsen gives them the lead, defensive mistake, and they were on the front foot. Yeah. They were really on the front foot. They could have had 2 or 3 at the beginning of the game, but then again, Thorgan Hazard's second half, it's almost as if the game completely changed when De Bruyne came on, as Rod said. What did you make of Denmark first half, Steve?
I thought it was a carnival atmosphere on the back of the shock of what happened at weekend, almost a tragedy, let's call it right. The big, huge Eriksen shirt, everybody singing his name. I don't believe anybody in the whole world wasn't thinking about him at the kickoff. I believe that. And for those lads in the shirts of Denmark, you can only presume that they found impetus on the back of it. I'm sure it was an amazing team talk, maybe led by the captain, certainly by the manager. The crowd were absolutely incredible. The commentators are talking about Eriksen's watching it in his bed in hospital with his shirt on. The players will have known this, and it was just an unbelievable wave of energy and electricity, any positive word you want to use, that Denmark had, all on the back of the shocking events of weekend. and I think it caught Belgium cold. The opposite, Denmark were warm. The opposite of it. The crowd was just incredible, and they scored after a minute and 40 or something like that. So Belgium never showed up at all. They had no pattern to play. They had no idea. They had no penetration. And then all of a sudden, you're just waiting for De Bruyne to come on at half-time. And as we've just discussed slightly there, not only was his own performance brilliant, you saw the raise in everybody else. I don't think anybody at home didn't believe that Belgium weren't going to win that second half once De Bruyne had got his first touch of the ball.
Yeah, and it was the substitution taking off Dries Mertens that effectively changed the game. And De Bruyne didn't look like he's been missing, did he? I mean, crying out the finish for the winner. Ouch.
Well, he's every right there for Kasper Schmeichel to think that, you know, I know Kevin De Bruyne is right-footed, but we know that he's both-footed. But naturally, you are taught to shoot across the goalkeeper. So you can imagine Kasper Schmeichel positioning that the ball, you know, 8 times out of 10 goes across you, either into the net or you save it, or hopefully it goes wide if you're the goalie. But De Bruyne just strikes cleanly through the ball and scores at the near post, setting it out further than the near post, giving Schmeichel no chance. That's why he's the world's best midfield player and one of the best outright players in the world.
He loves scoring a worldie against Schmeichel, doesn't he? He's done it a couple of times now. Schmeichel must be sick to death of seeing him, but Rod, not bad player. You know, some people sign him for £63 million in their dream team.
Yeah, I bidded you up.
Hey, I'm happy. He came off the bench, he scored.
We've seen it over and over again in the Premier League. You know, he's a world-class player. You know, you just wish he was in my side, not City's.
Well, this is the thing, right? When you have a player like that on the bench, if you're the opponents, you're a goal up at half-time, and then they bring on this player. Now you're thinking, do you change your game plan because this fella's come on? Because Denmark went 3 at the back, which is something they're not really used to. So,
well, that's another thing big players do. They make the opposition nervous and change the game when they probably should have kept it as they were. But that's what big players do. They also do that as well as make better players around them. They make the opposition nervous, and that's what Kevin De Bruyne did.
Rhodri, do you know what I've not seen anybody do yet, unless it's not noticeable because he's that good? Because it used to go on in the old days. I've not seen an opposition team give something up and actually go and put someone on him and man mark him. I've either never seen it or he embarrasses it by always making himself spare.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, you don't really see that the man marking.
No.
Old school, isn't it?
And Stel, I would also say this: the goal, because we mentioned it on your last show. The pass that Kevin De Bruyne received was exactly the same pass that Andy Robertson received at Andon Park for Scotland. And you just saw the difference. Robertson, a fullback, he took a touch and side-footed it high around the goalkeeper's head, and I think he tipped it over, didn't really know what he was doing, and De Bruyne just struck through the back of the ball at the front post, and that's the difference.
And one with his prominent foot, and the other one who scored with his wrong foot.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go. Right, before we wrap it up, shall we preview the game for tomorrow? There's some game between England and Scotland.
You go back to that Robertson, you'd expect that from the left back, though, wouldn't you, Des?
Well, yeah,
look at this guy.
many left backs, but you know, he used to be a left winger, I think, this guy, didn't he? So now I'm not letting him off. He's still playing international football, but I know what you're getting at.
Leave him alone. Crying out loud. Oh, blimey. All right, England, Scotland tomorrow. I don't want to waste too much time on it because most of the radio stations and TV channels have spent their time doing it. But it's a big one, obviously. Means more to Scotland, I'd say, because of, you know, they need the win to get through. But that being said, you know, these kind of games we've seen in the past, there's always a shock. I remember Don Hutchinson. Was it Hutchinson scoring the winner at Wembley?
Scholes won
scored twice at Hampton
away, and Hutchinson scored at Wembley. Yeah,
that's right. So, in terms of the way that Scotland are going to set their stall out, do you think they're going to go 3 at the back like they did against the Czechs, or will they go more attack-minded? Because they have to win.
No, they can't. They can't go. They can't go attack-minded from minute one. I'd be more inclined to suggest that I think they might keep it tight for an hour and see where they are in the game, and then maybe throw a bit at it for half an hour. But I don't believe they can really go for England from minute one. I can't have that. I don't believe that, Stel.
So we're talking what 4-2-3-1 system or straight at the back like last time?
I'm not sure about formations and numbers, but I don't think they'll be cavalier for an hour.
Yeah, it'd be really, Steve Clarke, he's experienced. Yes. He can't be going gun-ho, especially at Wembley, possibly at Hampden, but for a full house. But at Wembley, no chance. They've got to, put the tin hats on for the first 15, 20 minutes, ride it out, try and keep a clean sheet, try and nick a goal if possible. But yeah, try and keep it, get the crowd quieting down and get into the game.
I'm with that. I'm completely with that.
Well, in that case, I think they're going to go with McTominay and Armstrong in the middle of the park because Armstrong was hauled off. And he didn't have the best of the game. So how do you think they're going to approach this one from a midfield perspective? Because we saw England with Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice. I'd be surprised if Southgate changes that. So Scotland will need energy in the middle of the park. There's no two ways about it.
You've got McTominay. He's more than capable of doing that. I'm sure it was McGinn. Is he inside or is he on the outside?
Well, he does both, but he runs into the box. But I don't think you'll see much of that. But he's got Premier League experience. He plays against these boys every week all season. I think McGinn and McTominay will be in the middle of the park for Scotland, with McGinn told not to run forward as much as we'd like you to, or maybe we'll do last 20. But he's got some bulk about him now. He's really grown into his body. But I just think they'll really stiffen up the middle of the pitch, McTominay and McGinn. I don't think they'll run too far forward.
And does Shea Adams start?
You might have to have him to start because of his pace on the break. Because they'll need to. They won't have much ball, and when they do go forward, they'll need to stretch. They'll need to chase after it, and they'll need to, get into the channels to get rests. So he could possibly be ideal for a start, in my opinion. Still, yeah.
It's important. Whoever plays for Scotland, Stel's mentioned it before with Kiefer Moore. You've got to be able to occupy two centre halves. So otherwise, if one centre half's doing, you've got another one spare, and they're just going to have a field day. So whoever's playing has got to have quality, have a good game. Good quality into him, get hold of the ball, and bring his teammates in. It's going to be a long afternoon for him, but yeah, he's got to try and occupy both centre halves, looking into space in behind, but good quality into him so he can get hold of it and bring his teammates on. It's going to be a long afternoon, especially if it's hot.
Lads, talking about centre halves, on the other end, for me, Grant Hanley, who's been around for a long time, never seems to have full seasons, Blackburn and Norwich. I think he'd be made up if he's just marking Harry Kane. I think Harry Kane will probably, hopefully, still play well. But I think he would be delighted with that. But if he's up against pace, this Grant Hanley, I think it would be kryptonite. Honestly, I really do. And if you don't run into Scotland's box often tomorrow, I think we'll miss a trick. And I actually think this might end up meaning that he changes the team or the formation. And I'm a little bit stuck, lads. So I'm interested to know what you think, because I'm dead keen for him to keep it the same and get some rhythm, tournament momentum, and get some consistency. But I don't want to let this Grant Hanley off tomorrow by not running him into his own penalty area with pace of Sterling or Rashford, and it might have to be at the expense of somebody else, because I think we should play somebody alongside Kane and run Scotland's back lads home.
I can see Rashford coming in for Mason Mount.
Right.
And Foden moving more central.
Okay.
Well, Rashford played a number 10 before, and he's done well there. And Kane can do that as well, so possibly. As them up top, too. Up top, 1 in 10, 1 in 9. Can both do that.
I'd be really disappointed if we leave Kane isolated, because I do believe Grant Hanley physically could probably sort him out. But one thing he can't handle is pace. And I don't think Kane is going to run, in behind too much. So it's dead important, Sterling or Rashford for me. And it might even involve going to a 3-5-2, which messes your tournament patterns up from the last game, but just to get some pace on the front line to run him home.
You could even put Grealish in there, number 10. He caused damage there.
Rod, I think the same as you, but I caught up with the training ground news here, in that he's been training on his own with the conditioner rather with the group. So it kind of like put me off the thought that he might not start.
Yeah, he won't, Emily.
So what, you think he's got a bit of a niggle, or?
He'll just be nursing these shins, the problems that he's got, and I reckon he probably trained with the team today, just like like at home. Sometimes you have to do a bit with the physio and the fitness guys to make sure you get that training session with the lads on the Thursday and the Friday before the Saturday game. So I know he's not done reading the news, he's not done the full week with the group where everybody else has. He's been isolated, just ticking over.
No, if he was probably for an Aston Villa game, he'd probably play. But with England's quality, they don't really need to push him. So they just need to get him right, and they've got quality that they can put in his place. So they don't really want to put him in if he's still got a niggling injury or he's just coming back from it. Just get him right, and they've got more than enough quality to put in. And
I'm hoping Sterling, Rashford, or Foden can have a right go at this O'Donnell at right fullback as well, and They can be got at fullback and they can be got at centre half for me, Scotland. So we mustn't let them off with not playing pace against them.
On this wee business again.
Oh, blimey! Right, gents. Before we wrap it up, I know this is not Euro 2020+1 related, but have you heard the Spurs manager news today?
He's pulled out now, and over something.
Fonseca's not going to be the manager. So this summer they've been linked with Rodgers, Potter, Ten Hag, Pochettino, Conte, Nuno, Fonseca, Nagelsmann, and now it looks like good Eddie Howe. Yes. And now looks like they're getting Gattuso.
No way.
Apparently Gattuso.
Tottenham and Gattuso don't fit. Tottenham are all nice and
sometimes good, sometimes shit.
Are they going to bring Joe Jordan back to assist him?
Oh, mate. What's happening? What's happening with Spurs? Honestly, what is happening? Because I look at this club with history, with a wonderful stadium, with fantastic players. I mean, let's be honest, they've got a very good squad, man. They've got a squad that can challenge the top four 100%.
They have had a good squad, but it's important, we've seen this over the years, when you have got a good squad and you're kind of successful. They didn't win anything, but they got to Champions League final. But instead of adding to the squad, they didn't do anything. It just went stale, and Pochettino ended up leaving, and they've just gone downhill from there. So it just proves to when you're on that. When you're at the top or the Champions League final, you just need that extra push, and then they needed to bring that extra quality, and they didn't, and they've just gone downhill from now on. Pochettino's coming.
But why can't they get their manager? Why can't they get a manager they want? It doesn't make no sense.
No, because no one probably wants it. Conte's probably was probably the biggest name, and he's probably spoke to Daniel Levy, and he's thought there's no chance of even competing with what you're offering, because he wants to bring in certain players, and you know what Conte's like, and that's why he's probably left Inter Milan, because they weren't spending, even though they've won the league. He knows they need to progress and bring people in, and they've not done that, and he's left. So, and Tottenham, he's probably got the same conversation and the same story, so that's why he's not done there.
Well, apparently Nuno turned down the Crystal Palace job, so he could be getting a Spurs job. But then again, Rafa Benitez is linked with Everton, and if that doesn't happen, then maybe he'll go to Spurs. But it's just baffling. It really is baffling how they just can't get a manager. Surely there's more to it than just Fonseca couldn't get it for tax reasons, or
managers want to come in and compete still. And Premier League is a difficult league to come into, with Liverpool, United, City, Chelsea all spending big money. If the manager comes in and doesn't think he can compete, they're not going to take the job. It's just pointless. So yeah, it's a difficult one, but a team like Tottenham shouldn't be in this situation.
Well, the question is,
Eddie Redknapp be there soon. Eddie Redknapp outside his Range Rover.
Getting old and wingy with him. Fucking hell. Do they still owe money to Mourinho? Well, I guess they do, because I don't think they pay them lump sums. They pay them over a certain period of time, don't they? So it wouldn't be all at once. I think it took United 6 years to pay off.
Now he's got a new job that it depends on in the contract, doesn't he? But Mourinho's no mug. I'm pretty sure he's getting paid.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh well, that's it for our Euro 2020 +1 review show, gents. Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone tuning in and watching live and contributing. We'll be back in a few days, I guess. Do you guys want to add anything?
Just for everyone to enjoy the game tomorrow, and hope England win. But I hope it's a great game that we'll be talking about forevermore.
Rod, anything else to add?
Scots, come on.
That's mean. I'm saying, come on, Slovakia. Come on, the Brate boys. We need to win this one. Come on.